Offer her a bag to come join you guys?
Yeah, well, I feel like it's just so crazy because the growth that Caitlin has brought to the game, the sheer amount of money that she's making these teams, people are having to move their venues for when she comes to play, and she's getting paid like $75,000 a year. So definitely, we want to be a part of that change, and that's what we're doing. We're obviously, I think she deserves that. I think she should be one of the top players in the world just for the sheer numbers that she's bringing. So I think that's something that needs to change, and that's what we're trying to do.
At this point, the desperation is painfully obvious. Unrivaled is barely hanging on, struggling to stay afloat, yet instead of addressing its real issues, they're back to doing what they've done for months.
Paige, we mentioned Juju. Caitlin Clark, she isn't playing in this first season of the league, but she has said she's open to playing. What is it going to take to get a Caitlin Clark to play next season?
I think everything we're doing, for Caitlin, I feel like it's just been such a whirlwind, coming from college and all that came with that to, being in her first WNBA rookie season. It's just a lot to handle, and there's no break, especially for the rookies. They play for 18 months straight or something crazy like that, just because going from both seasons. And so I know she really needed that little mental break from basketball for a little bit, but all we can do is show her what we have, and
begging Caitlin Clark to save them. It's like watching someone drowning but refusing to grab a life raft, just hoping Caitlin Clark will swoop in and rescue them. And leading the charge? None other than Napheesa Collier, once again extending public invitations, talking about how there's still a place for Clark in Unrivaled, how they're just waiting and hoping she wants in. You guys offer her a bag to come join you? Well, I feel like it's just so crazy because the impact Caitlin has had on the game is undeniable. The money she's bringing in, the way teams are adjusting their venues just because of her presence, it's massive. And she's only making around $75,000 a year? We want to be part of that change. She deserves to be recognized as one of the top players in the world just for the sheer numbers she's bringing. That's what we're pushing for. But what exactly is she expecting? Does she really think Clark is scrolling through Unrivaled social media, seeing clips of empty arenas and injured players limping off the court, and thinking, yeah, this looks like a great career move? That's just not happening. Paige, we've mentioned Juju, Caitlin Clark. She isn't playing in this first season of the league, but she has said she's open to it in the future. What's it going to take to get her to play next season? I think everything we're doing, for Caitlin. It's been such a whirlwind. Coming from college, dealing with everything that came with that, then heading into her first WNBA rookie season. It's a lot. There's no break, especially for rookies, who end up playing for about 18 months straight. She really needed that mental reset from basketball. All we can do is show her what we have. Clark, however, is in an entirely different universe. She is the biggest name in women's basketball, possibly in all of sports right now. She doesn't need a league built on desperation. She doesn't need to prove anything. She's already doing everything Unrivaled wishes it could, except she's doing it in the WNBA, where the real competition is. Meanwhile, Unrivaled is barely holding on. Their ratings are abysmal, their attendance is embarrassing, and their games struggle to even crack 100,000 viewers, and that's on a good day. And it's not because people don't care about women's basketball. Caitlin Clark's jersey retirement alone pulled in 1.1 million viewers. She didn't even have to play. Just existing in the stadium outdrew Unrivaled's entire season combined. So what does Unrivaled do? They double down on their Caitlin Clark obsession, pretending that if they mention her name enough times, she'll eventually feel bad and throw them a lifeline. It's the same strategy they've been using for months. When Unrivaled first launched, they acted like they didn't need Caitlin Clark. They claimed to be about empowering women's basketball without relying on one superstar. Fast forward a few months, and now they can't go 5 minutes without bringing her up. Funny how that works. Napheesa Collier, one of the league's co-founders, keeps doing interviews saying Clark is always welcome, that they hope she'll join someday, that there's always a spot for her. Does that sound like a thriving league? When you're at the top of your game, you don't need to beg people to join. You don't need to hope a superstar gives you the time of day. But Unrivaled knows its foundation is shaky. They try to market themselves as an alternative to the WNBA, but that only works if people actually want an alternative. And guess what? Most don't. The WNBA is growing. Caitlin Clark is bringing in millions of viewers. She's selling out arenas. Fans care. Meanwhile, Unrivaled is out here canceling games because too many players are injured. Yes, you heard that right. They had to cancel a game because they literally didn't have enough healthy players. How does that even happen? This isn't high school basketball. This is supposed to be a professional league, yet they're barely managing to keep it together. And that's the league Caitlin Clark is supposed to leave everything behind to join? Clark is already set for life. She's got Nike, Gatorade, endorsement deals left and right. She's making more in one season than most WNBA players make in years. She doesn't need Unrivaled. Unrivaled needs her. But that's the one thing Collier and the others refuse to admit. Without Clark, they're just a struggling league with no mainstream attention, no real TV ratings, and no compelling reason for fans to care. That's why Collier keeps talking about Clark like she has a foot in the door. She's planting the seed, hoping Clark will feel some obligation to throw them a lifeline. But let's be real, Clark isn't stupid. She sees what's happening. She sees Unrivaled struggling to attract fans. She sees their ratings flopping. She sees injuries piling up. Why would she risk her career in a league that can't even keep its own roster full? Clark isn't in it for clout. She isn't here for gimmicks. She's here to compete. And that's exactly why she will never join Unrivaled. Because Unrivaled isn't about competition. It's about survival. They're throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks. One-on-one tournaments, odd scheduling, constant media pandering. Meanwhile, all Clark has to do is show up to a game, and the entire sports world explodes. Unrivaled is living in a fantasy where they think Caitlin Clark is just waiting for the right moment to join them. But in reality, Clark is thriving without them. She's elevating the WNBA, breaking viewership records, and selling out every arena she steps into. She doesn't need Unrivaled to be a superstar. She already is one. And Unrivaled? They're just trying to stay relevant. Collier and the Unrivaled execs can keep hoping, keep saying there's always a spot for Clark, keep name-dropping her in interviews, pretending she's even considering their league. But Clark's silence speaks volumes. She's moved on. Meanwhile, Unrivaled is still chasing a dream that will never come true. Now, let's dive deeper into why Unrivaled is failing. The ratings, the injuries, the lack of star power. This goes beyond just Caitlin Clark. This is a league built on shaky ground, struggling to find its place in a crowded market. If they keep this up, they'll become nothing more than a footnote in women's sports history. Instead of addressing real problems, Unrivaled's executives, led by Napheesa Collier, are throwing everything at the wall, hoping something will stick. Their focus is entirely on Caitlin Clark, but the truth is, this isn't even about her anymore. It's about a league desperately clinging to relevance. At the end of the day, Clark isn't joining Unrivaled. Not now, not ever. She doesn't need to. She's already dominating the game. She's got endorsements, global recognition, and a future that's brighter than ever. Unrivaled, on the other hand, keeps chasing her like she's their last hope. But the reality is, without Clark, they have nothing. So what's next for Unrivaled? They can keep wishing, keep name-dropping, keep hoping for a miracle. But unless they fix their core issues, they'll never be a serious contender in women's basketball. Because right now, Unrivaled isn't a league built for success. It's a league built on desperation. And that's a losing formula.